Hi, this is Rick, and in this section, we're going to be looking at the reports. Now, we're not going to be getting very extensive into the reportings, into the report section, I'm sorry, until, later videos or later trainings or later support. So we're going to show you basically what they are and what they do, but very quickly, okay? So in the Vicidial administration, we're going to go into the reports. Now, mind you that when you set a supervisor to supervise a queue, but you don't want to messing with the system, then we set them for only to view reports. Then, then it would be something like right here. So again, for us to access this portion of the system, the user level has to be 8. So in order for, and to say that this agent 6000 was going to be our supervisor, so then he would need to have a user level 8, and all his privileges, all they need to add is just to view reports, which would allow him to log into the administration section and actually go into the report section. Any other section that he goes into, he will not have access. Okay, so let's click on the reports. And as you can see, we have a whole slew of reports over here. Now, for sakes and purposes here, we're going to do a real quick review on this. Okay, the main one you guys are going to want to look at is the real-time main report, and that's what you see what's going on with your queue at all times. You also got your inbound reports, and I like to show these to you, but I mean there's really hardly any call data in here, if anything at all. So I mean it's not going to show very much. Let's see, let's try all these and let's see what happens. Okay, so this is an example of an inbound report. As you can see, our in groups, and it tells me that all the test calls that I have made, that 6 came in, that 3 came in, 6 came in on sales, 3 came in on service. None of them were answered. They lasted so many seconds. No human answers, blah blah. And so it gets pretty extensive. And again, the beauty about Vicidial is that it's got very interesting reports. It's got anything you can think of: user time clock, performance, statuses, outbound IVRs, everything, outbound call reports, the whole 9 yards. The one that we are going to look into right now is the real-time main report. Now, what the real-time main report does is that since I am going to use an administrator that can see all the active campaigns, since I have the outbound and the inbound, then this is what it shows us. It shows us our dial level, which would ever be set for 2, 3, how many leads we have available that are good. The hopper is basically, I like to think of it like the clip in a gun. You can have, those are going to be ready to roll at any second. This will tell you exactly how many of those are ready to go at any second. This will tell you how many you want ready, so you can set it to 10, 20, 50, 100, depending on how many agents, is how many leads in the hopper you want to have ready for that to be fired off at one time. As you can see here, it gives us the station or the extension, which is 6000, the username, session ID, the status. As you can see, he's paused and logged in since he's right here, and if we hit resume, you will see that he is in a ready status, ready to take calls. So let's look at the options of this menu. Now, through this report, you can also do live monitoring. In this case, you want to do a couple settings. The screen refresh rate. How fast do you want the screen to refresh? You obviously, wow, 2 years up to now. Let's set it for 4 seconds so it can almost be live. And we want to make sure that the inbound shows. We want to make sure that if we can monitor. Now, as a supervisor, I like to sometimes monitor my calls. So I can say monitor or barge. Now, monitor will allow you to drop in on a call with a 1 click, and you'll be able to listen to everything. They won't know you're there. And the barge option will allow you actually to jump into the call. What you want to make sure, if you choose only monitor will show. If you choose barge, then both options will show. Now, the phone I'm logged in is 6000, so we will use 6000 and submit. So now what happens is that if I wanted to listen to this agent right here, I would just click on listen, and since I am logged in and probably won't work properly like that, but that's exactly what would happen. It will tell you success, your phone rings, and you're automatically listening to the agent. Now, also another couple things to see, how many calls you made today. Now, mind you that in an outbound campaign, the calls today or the calls placed includes all the calls that were not answered by a human. So as long as a call was made by the system, it'll count it as a call placed, whether good or bad. Now, the calls dropped and answered is where you're looking at how many were answered versus how many were not answered. So the systems here tells me that it sent 2 calls that were answered. Well, actually it sent 9 calls total, 2 were answered, and 9 were dropped. Now, since I believe with this, we are looking at a combine, and that's always you have to be careful is combined. So if we look at the test outbound, we see that nothing has been called, but since I was making inbound calls, then we know that in the inbound it was calls. Now on the outbound situation, it's different, okay? In the outbound situation it'll show you the number of calls that were placed, no matter if they were answered or not, and how many were dropped, how many were answered when they were sent. In the inbound, you don't really get that much difference between the calls today and the calls answered and dropped. Now the drop percentage is remember we set this on the campaigns also. Once this turns red, that means that they're way over the drop percentage, and we want to make sure that they stay below that. If not, in an automatic dialer campaign, the dialer will slow down once again. It'll tell us what method we're on. Here in an outbound campaign, if we go to the outbound campaign, you'll see that all the statuses were set. It also shows us the adapt limit, the adapt mode that we have it on. And okay, so this shows you all the stuff in the report right here. Now let's look at a summary. So if I wanted to look at a quick glance at all my campaigns running, then I would hit a summary, and here we go. It tells my inbound and my outbound, and show me what was going on with those. You can even set it to show you what type of campaigns you want to see. So now we've seen how to use the reports, and we'll get more into it in further details on all the other reports.